Hello, welcome to a new asynchronous listening session. This recording consists of several parts and please attentively follow the guidelines throughout the video. Okay, and it's starting. Here the topic is culture shock. Here you see a quiz, and when you click on here, you can listen the vocabulary along with their definitions, and you can read them simultaneously. Okay, and this part is very important because it will ease your understanding uh, to understanding the tape script, and learning new vocabulary will ease your understanding. Okay, here, and you can pause the video and decide each word and choose the word that best completes the sentence. Okay, you have 5 minutes. Please do it. Okay, let's continue with skills focus. Here, and you see some hints, some clues, and for you to help you reduce repetitions while note taking. And in a lecture and in a recording, when you hear and some linking questions like what do you think happens in, so what can we say about this issue, this topic, and you need to sense or understand that okay, a main idea is coming. So you should pay attention to these linking questions to understand what the main ideas are. So you can use two slashes and to reduce repetitions, to avoid unnecessary repetitions. Okay. Now I will let you listen to excerpt from a lecture, and while and listening, please note the questions, the question one and the question two, and the answers. Okay.
Unit 2A, Anthropology, Culture Shock, page 23. Try it out. Now to the next stage, the acceptance stage. What do you think happens in the acceptance stage of culture shock? Yes, of course, acceptance means you start to like some of the customs or practices of the new culture. You also begin to accept some of the ways people act. You know, maybe the people stop to talk with their neighbors every day, and you learn to like that tradition. What else can we say about the acceptance stage? Well, you also begin to feel more comfortable because you can speak the language better and do things like talk to neighbors or explain an illness to a doctor.
Okay. Now let's see the answers. Okay, but before seeing, let me give you a few seconds to check your answers. You can pause the video here to formulate your answers. Okay, let's see the answers. Question first is what happens in acceptance stage? And first answer, you start to like customs or practices of the culture. And the second answer is you start to accept how people act. Okay. And second question is what else can you say about acceptance stage? And you don't need to write or note down the acceptance stage, and to avoid repetition, and you can use two slash. And the answer, you start to feel comfortable with language. Okay. And now I will let you watch the lecture, and you are required to take your notes. And after that, you will see some questions, and to which you will find answers by means of benefiting from your notes. And take notes about states. There are 4 states, and take notes about them, and write the name of each stage and how each is described. Okay. Okay.
Today, we're going to discuss what it's like to live in a new culture, new society. Now, as you may know, the study of culture and society is called anthropology. Well, I became interested in anthropology when I was 19 and traveled to the country of Albania. It was my first time living away from home. And it really changed my view of the world and of myself. So, what happened to me when I was in this new culture? Can you guess? I experienced culture shock. Now, have you heard of culture shock? No? Okay. Well, some of you may have it right now. Okay, don't worry. It's not an illness. It's the shock or the surprising feelings you have when you enter another culture. Culture shock often happens to people when they leave their home culture and go to live in a different culture, which we call the host culture. Culture shock is a process. That is, research shows that culture shock has 4 stages. So let's look at these 4 stages of adjustment or getting used to a new culture. The first stage is called the excitement stage. Now, this stage usually starts before you even leave your home culture, also called your native culture. Now, before I left home, I was certain that my life was going to be completely wonderful when I finally reached Albania. Have any of you had similar experiences? So you can understand why this first stage is called the excitement stage. And this excitement continues until after you enter the host culture. Now, all the new sights and sounds and smells and tastes are very interesting when you first arrive. And in fact, this stage may last anywhere from a few days to 6 months. Well, after some weeks, your feelings change. Oh, yes, you begin to have very different feelings. You move from the excitement stage to the second stage of culture shock, called the rejection stage. Why is it called that? Well, because you reject or push away the host culture. The main symptom is that you don't feel like participating in this new culture. In my case, I realized I was very different from the people around me. And I felt unhappy that I couldn't fit in. I wanted to go home immediately, right away. Now, this feeling's normal. When you're living in another culture, the language is difficult, and people's behaviors, how they act, it can seem strange. For example, I came to class on time every day, but some students came in 15, even 30 minutes late, and the teacher never seemed to mind. I couldn't understand this. There are other symptoms of the rejection stage. You might feel tired or anxious. Things that felt simple to do back home now in this new environment feel like a lot of work, like answering the phone or shopping. And then there's loneliness. Me, I really missed my family, especially my mom's peach pie. Anyway, so that's the rejection stage. And how long it lasts varies from 1 to 6 months. Well, fortunately, most people move on from the rejection stage and they enter the third stage, the acceptance stage. So what do you think happens in this stage? Right. Of course, you begin to accept some of the behaviors and the beliefs of the host culture. Life becomes easier. Your language skills get better, and you understand the behaviors and the customs around you. For example, I learned to understand my teacher's way of thinking and stopped caring when other students were late for class. This is normal in the acceptance stage. You learn that the host culture isn't better or worse than your home culture, just different. And that brings us to the fourth and final stage of cultural adjustment, acculturation. And that's ACCULTURATION. Now, to become acculturated means to become adjusted to the culture. And this happens after living in a place for several years. In this stage, you enjoy many of the customs and the beliefs of the host culture, but you still keep your home culture. Okay, time's almost up, so let's review. Today, we talked about the 4 stages of cultural shock: excitement, rejection, acceptance, and acculturation. And we covered some of the characteristics of each. Now, for next time, be ready to discuss any experiences you may have had with these stages of cultural adjustment.
Okay, and you can pause the video here, and let me give you 1 minute to ready your notes. Okay, now let me show you an example of answers for regarding note taking, and the topic is the anthropological culture shock and new culture and new society, and you were provided an example live experience for all lecturer to be in Albania for the first time, and also the lecturer experience culture shock. And there are 4 stages: and excitement, the first stage, and rejection and acceptance and acculturation. And stage in the here and some weeks you start or you enter into the stage of rejection, and after months you end up in acceptance, and after several years and you feel acculturation, which means to become a party to the foreign country or to the culture that you are living through. And details and some descriptive of feelings and last, and how long does it take and to move from one stage to the other, and what are some characteristics of each stage. So for rejection stage, you feel like unhappy or tired, and you miss your family, and you miss your traditions, your local tastes. Okay, please take a close look at these notes. You can pause the video here. Okay, now let's continue with the last part. And by means of benefiting from your notes, you are required to answer to these 10 questions. Okay. Okay, and just see all of the questions. Okay. You can pause the video here, and you have 30 seconds to check the questions. Okay, after 30 seconds, and you can listen to the recording one more time, and or you can benefit from your notes to answer these questions. Okay. Now, let's see the answers together. What does anthropology and study? The first question. And the first question is, the study of anthropology is the study of culture and society. Okay. Next question, how does the lecturer define culture shock and when does it happen? Okay. And the definition of culture shock is, and when you enter another culture, it is the shock or the surprising feelings. And the second part of the question, when does it happen? And it happens to people when they leave their home culture and go to live in a different culture, which we call the host culture. And third question, what does the lecturer say about his time in Albania? And here, and I became, and here, traveled to a country, traveled to the country Albania. It was my first time living away from home, and it really changed my view of the world and myself. And also, and he defined and that I was certain that my life was going to be completely wonderful when I finally reached Albania. So he defined his feelings as wonderful. Next question. What are the 4 stages of culture shock? And the first stage is excitement stage. And the next stage, stage 2, is rejection stage. And third stage is acceptance stage. And the last stage is acculturation stage. When does the excitement stage usually start and when does it usually end? Okay, excitement stage here usually starts before you even leave your home culture. And excitement stage may last anywhere from a few days to 6 months. It takes between a few days and 6 months. Next question, what personal frustration does the lecturer give about the second stage? And I came to class on time every day, but some students came in 15 and even 30 minutes late, and the teacher never seemed to mind. I couldn't understand this, so we can understand the lecturer was treated unfairly, and he got frustrated. Okay, or frustration is an annoyed feeling, and you can write, he got annoyed, he got angry. How long does the second stage last? And the second stage lasts, it varies from 1 to 6 months. Okay. Why does your life get easier in the third stage? And your life gets easier in the third stage because your language skills get better and you start to understand the behaviors and the customs around you. How does someone feel in the fourth stage? And someone feel enjoyment, and someone enjoys many of the customs and the beliefs of the host culture during stage 4. And last question, what does the speaker ask students to do for the next class? And the lecturer asks them to be ready to discuss any experiences and they may have had with these days of cultural adjustment. Okay, and this is the end of the session, and see you for a new one. Thank you.